The views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olson.
Can't shake this terror from my head tonight. Alone and forsaken, I bleed. A twisted vision, a tired mind, betrayed, a victim of shame. R.I.P. you're dead to me. You tore out my Frankenstein heart. A twisted vision of hell in your eyes.
We're hitting you right here live at the After Hours AM studios. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and as always,
Eric Olson.
and we are, well, did you like the intro music there?
I did. It was kind of a retro. It was a little bit of a rockabilly feel, more updated, so psychobilly.
Yes, exactly. Psychobilly music. You gotta love it, man.
I do.
Speaking of music, I went for my very first guitar lesson today, and I didn't realize I sucked that bad.
Well, you just started, man.
Well, I did, but my God, the guy's like, well, he's a really good teacher. He's like, well, what do you know? And I said, well, a little bit. Well, show me what you know. And he says, oh, you're doing it all wrong. All right, you're doing it all wrong. No, actually, he was a very good teacher, and
You're doing it all wrong.
no, he was I'm joking.
Move!
No, he was a very good teacher, very good at it, and so he was very cool and walked me through the steps. And I didn't know this, but I was using my frets incorrectly on the guitar
Oh, God, no. How?
because I was going to the middle of the fret and not towards the bottom.
It's the bottom.
That's right, and for some reason I had it in my head that was in the middle, man. I don't know why. It wasn't very rock and roll of me, of course, but
It's physics. It's just physics.
Simple
Think
physics.
about it. The closer you get to the fret, the easier it'll be to push it down.
Exactly. Hey, I got to ask you, what is new? I know we haven't mentioned it for a while, but what is new over at America's Most Haunted?
America's Most Haunted is rockin', as the perspicacious among our audience has already picked up. We have blended our shows into this Thursday night configuration. The juggernaut that is After Hours AM has been joined by the semi-juggernaut that was America's Most Haunted Radio, and we are now, boy, we got to get a snappier title, I'll tell you. But now it's After Hours AM, America's Most Haunted. So, to reflect that reality, we have all kinds of super cool little digital elves at work updating the America's Most Haunted website to incorporate After Hours AM. It will soon represent both brands. It will encapsulate all of that content and material. We'll bring in storytellers there as well. It will be an amazing thing. So we're just waiting for them to finish that work up. They actually told me today, they've been very good about checking in. Always a good sign. They checked in today and said, we have done the logos for the basic, new logos for the basic brands of America's Most Haunted and After Hours AM. Now all they have to do as far as logos is a logo for the two actual radio shows. After Hours AM Storytellers and After Hours AM America's Most Haunted. So there will in essence, there will end up being 4 logos to be plastered all over Hillendale. And I am very, very excited about this. And other than the fact that Tuesday night we had consistent F-bombs dropped.
I know, wasn't that
from the
horrible?
word go.
Well, you know, they were good
All is
guests.
well.
Yeah, they're good guests. I really enjoyed talking about punk rock. But man, did they live the punk rock lifestyle or what?
Or what is right. Yeah, we're talking to the lead singer of a band that, honestly, I had not heard of
Get dead.
too much before. You know, I mean, there's a lot of punk bands out there. They're on the right label. They're on Fat Records, great label, amazing track record. This is their 25th anniversary.
Wow.
And there will be a Fat Records tour later this year. But anyway, I had not specifically heard this band a whole lot prior to them being booked for the show, because they are appearing, I should say, at Punk Rock Bowling in Vegas this weekend. So, yeah, I mean, you could not ask for a more punk rock interview. The guy was outside in the alley behind his house.
By a dumpster. Chasing a pit bull.
Chasing a pit bull. And during the course of the interview, numerous F-bombs were dropped. Nothing malicious. It's just a matter of speech. It was
using
to a member of the military, shall we say, or certain members of the military. Anyway,
he was basically using the F-bomb, and not to rip on the guy because he was a great guest, so we do appreciate him coming on the show. But basically, that culture, they use the F-bomb in place of commas.
It's a modifier. It modifies everything.
Exactly.
It modifies everything.
Have you ever heard?
Part of my problem was as the new guy host-wise on the show, I just really didn't realize what a problem that would be. It didn't occur to me the extent of our over the airwaves, therefore FCC affiliated listenership. So they went very quickly, and I guess that was a good thing.
Yeah, they didn't hang around long.
No, they heard the first 1 or 2 and they were gone.
It was gone.
Like bunnies.
They were probably playing opera or something. Going, let's clean it up. Let's clean it up.
So, it was on some ways, it was one of the most interesting interviews I've ever done. If you were trying to get at the essence of your subject, oh my God, we got at the essence.
Yeah, yes, we did. Yes,
we were living the life, but unfortunately, it kind of screwed up the whole radio side of things. And I guess even what I knew even less prior to all this happening, I didn't realize even our internet radio connections, our outlets, are also really quite regulated, and they don't want to hear that kind of stuff either. So we're kind of at we're at an impasse. What have you decided?
Well, I will try to do some editing, some creative editing in the show to get it to the masses. But if somebody truly wants to hear that show, just go ahead and email me, and I will provide you with a link to that show.
To the real McCoy. The unvarnished punk rock.
But no.
The pinnacle.
But know this. It is adult content. Big time.
It is. I mean, it really was just the language, but there's a lot of language.
There's a lot of language. You're correct.
I mean, it's not subject matter, it's language. But it was some rough language.
But he was a colorful character. I mean, it makes the rich tapestry of their industry is colorful characters.
Yes. I'm looking at that rich tapestry. Yeah, I mean, it was so fun in so many ways, but sadly, from the purely radio perspective, it was something of a disaster. Let's call a spade a spade.
Well, it was a tough interview, but, I really do appreciate them coming on, though, because, my gosh, how often do you get to talk to a punk rock legend?
Well, not that often. And our other guy, our other music guy, Dave Wakeling, from the English Beat now he was outstanding. And this was so fun for me personally because I interviewed Dave when we were both considerably younger at the very first US Festival outside of LA way back in 1982. So think about that, 1982.
Wow. Did you have hair at that point?
I had a fistful of hair.
Well, see, I'm bald, so I can make fun of people without hair because I truly am a cue ball. So
Yes. Well, I'm sure part of that is voluntary, but nonetheless, I understand. Yeah, I'm still sort of pretending to hold on to the, vestiges. I got to tell you something. There should be a study done on me because I have been using, listen to this, think about this. I've been using Rogaine for like 20 plus years.
okay, and
20 plus.
does it? Man, has it affected your brain at all?
I don't know. How would I know?
I guess that's a great question.
I have to compare it to.
How would you know? Has it worked? Has it done what they promised?
It's hard to say too, because what would I look like without it? I don't. Yes, it probably has. I probably have more, vestigial sort of, remnant hair on the top of my head than I would have. I probably by now, looking at my father, for example, by the time he was my age, he was definitely bald on top of his head. So I am not exactly that. So I guess that little bit that I've held on to is what Rogaine has done for me. Is it worth it? Who the hell knows?
Well, good for you though. Really good for you. See, I just kind of let it all go. I just shave it.
I'm vain, man. You know that.
Yeah, well, I do, and that's okay though. That's okay.
Freaking vain. I am 56 years old, and I'm no less vain than I was 30 years ago.
And I'm sure your wife would all agree that you're a sexy beast.
I am, but what can you do? You're born that way.
Well, yeah, either you got it or you don't got it.
It's nothing. I don't take any credit for it, man. It's just that's the way the genes came out. Yeah,
God smiled on you and
God
said,
did smile on me.
I'm
at
gonna
least
make.
in some ways.
I'm
In other
gonna
ways,
make.
he was covering his eyes from the glare.
Well, I guess I could see that.
He was turning aside. Put a hat on.
But getting back to 19...
Stop using Rogaine.
Stop using Rogaine. It never meant for
If I you to have hair, I would have invented Rogaine.
Yeah, that's right. Embrace what I've made, Eric, is what he's saying.
God
Embrace it.
said to me.
Embrace it. But there's nothing wrong with being vain. I'm vain as well. There's nothing wrong with it. And well, anyhow, getting back to your story, you interviewed David
Wakeling and the English Beat, the whole band, just right off of the stage, the big main stage at the US Festival. It was an amazing, overwhelming thing. In fact, I wrote a story, obviously, about I was covering it for the Easy Reader, which is the weekly, and it still is, in the South Bay area of Southern California, the Hermosa, Manhattan, Redondo Beach, Torrance area of LA. And so I was covering the US Festival for them. And it was just this amazing experience just across the board, getting to do all these interviews, the show itself. There were hundreds of thousands of people there. It was enormous. And this was the one, I don't know if you remember what the US Festival was. And it ran for a few years. I forget how many exactly, but this was the very first one. And this was sponsored and funded and put on by Steve Wozniak of Apple.
Really?
He was gone from Apple in 1982.
Interesting. So he was in on it.
He was the guy. He funded it. It was his idea.
Wow.
And I got to interview him.
Yeah, I was going to say.
It was a really amazing thing. It was so fun. And the English Beat, I got to tell you, they were one of my favorite bands at the time. I mean, they were super hot at the time. And it was great to see them. The US Festival was very well curated, the bands. And it was over a course of like 3 days. So they had themes. So you had kind of a new wave day. You had a hard rock metal-y day. And then you had a little bit of everything day. It was Van Halen. It was Bowie. It was Stray Cats. It was the Police.
Wow.
It was big names.
That is really, really cool. I remember.
Did I say the Clash?
No.
The Clash.
No. English.
The Clash.
England is calling, you know.
They were calling me. It was amazing. So the memories of that, and when we talked to Dave Tuesday night, I was amazed how well he remembered that.
You know, I got to ask you the question. I got to ask you the question all the listeners are curious about. Back in 82, when you were interviewing all these big punk rock stars, Did you have to live the punk rock lifestyle, like color your hair, smoke cigarettes, or do something to fit in, or were they very open to just talking?
Oh, no. They were all... This was one of these things where the event itself, you could tell they had a contract with every band, and every band had to talk to the press. So they just wheeled them on out, right? And I'm just there among the press. But once they get to you, then you sort of peel off into individual interviews, right? Okay, I'm going to talk to Dave Wakeling now from English Beat. Okay, and then I'm going to... So they would bring out a band at a time, and the band would field questions, and then you'd kind of peel off and start talking to them individually. So
interesting. Okay,
I mean, did I live the lifestyle? Not really. Remember, I'm from Southern California. I lived at the beach, literally, at that time.
You were a surfer guy.
Across the street from Hermosa Beach.
So you were a surfer.
So I was a beach guy. I was a semi-surfer. I was more of a body surfer. What had happened with my surfing life was right when I was learning to actually surf, to stand up on a surfboard, that's when we moved to Ohio. When I was going into...
Not much surfing going on in Ohio.
There's no surf in Cleveland, a very famous song by the Euclid Beach Band. There's no surf in Cleveland. No. In the mode of the Beach Boys. It's actually a classic tune. So, yeah, those 8 years of high school and college, I was in Ohio and not doing a whole lot of surfing. And then I went back after college and was back in L.A. throughout the 80s. All of the 80s, and back on the beach, and I did start surfing again. But by then, and I was adult, and I was married, and started having kids and all that. So I was not able to dedicate myself to the surfing lifestyle. But definitely, I'm a beach kind of guy. I'm very, very comfortable there. I love the beach. I like to swim. I like to body surf, so on and so forth. So that's kind of where I was coming from. But that's what a lot of the people who were at the show were, too. And a lot of the bands, for that matter, even if you were from elsewhere, believe me, a lot of people move to Southern California.
Oh, yeah, they do. That's a really populated area of California, really nice area of California. Very desirable to live.
Well, weather-wise, there's a lot of downsides, and I honestly haven't missed a whole lot.
Earthquakes, race riots, there's lots of downsides.
Number one, just overcrowding, period.
Yeah, it is a little crowded.
Impacts everything. It impacts the cost of housing. It impacts traffic. Traffic is abysmal. It gets worse every year. Every time I go back, and I haven't been actually back in a couple of years now, every time I go back, it seems worse.
I would imagine it does with the smog and the traffic and all.
Oh, no, the smog has improved a lot. Because, California, of course, was the first state to really lay down the law as far as emission standards. So, I mean, just year by year since the 70s, the air quality has improved. Now, what's worse every time is the traffic. Traffic sucks.
Growing. It's a growing population, keeps going, keeps getting bigger. That's all right.
No matter what. They don't have any water. They have earthquakes. They're congested. Everything's expensive as hell, and it still just keeps growing because people like the weather.
That's right. It's the weather. But anyhow, we got about 10 minutes left before we, invite our guest on. That'd be Kristy Robinett. That's right. No,
amazing.
Psychic medium.
Yes, we gotta do a little paranormal news, don't we?
We do. Let's jump right into it.
We're gonna whip over to Twitter feed at AM Haunted. I encourage you to follow along at AM Haunted, America's Most Haunted. Doy. All right. So coming to TV, check this out. Are you a George Romero fan?
I love George Romero. One of my best interviews ever on radio was with George Romero.
Fantastic. I have never talked to him, so you are ahead of me on that one. I'm a huge fan too. And what's going on with him is he and some other people are adapting his latest project, which is a comic book series called Empire of the Dead. And it's being adapted for a TV series.
Really?
So George Romero is going TV. And it's not just zombies. They've added in vampires.
You know what? It's going to finally give The Walking Dead a run for its money.
It's possible. That is a good point.
He is the creator of the modern day zombie.
He is the absolute creator. There was no such thing as the zombie as we now commonly think of it, the formerly dead hordes brought back to life by some disaster of one kind or another, whether it be a comet from outer space or a virus or whatever the case may be.
Do you like zombie movies?
Generally, yes.
Do you like the slow and creepy zombie, or do you like these running zombies that they have?
I probably ultimately slow, just because that's how I think of them. But I did like World War Z.
It was pretty good. And then the remake of Dawn of the Dead wasn't too bad.
That was fast, too. They were fast. You're right. Yeah. And then where they're fastest of all, though, is the 28 Days Later.
Now, there's some argument amongst the zombie fans that they weren't truly zombies. They were infected with a virus.
True. They weren't dead.
So,
you're right.
There was that whole thing. But that's cool. It'd be great to see George come back to TV, and he hasn't done anything for TV truly since Tales from the Dark Side.
Wow. Yeah, it'll be cool. And it'll be interesting to see what he does with this combination of zombies and vampires. Apparently there will be a war between zombies and vampires.
That'll be cool. That'd be cool to see. Because the zombies can't think at all. The vampires can think. I'd have to say the vampires would take it. I'm just saying.
I'd say they have quite an advantage. But zombies probably, just guessing, have the advantage of numbers.
Yeah,
that's always where the zombies get you.
But you can't kill a vampire unless you stake them through the heart. And last time I looked, zombies don't do so well with tools.
It's a good point. I don't know how smart these zombies are. I don't know if he's changing the rules at all. We'll have to see how that plays out.
That'll be great. I'm looking forward to seeing that.
Okay, so everyone knows about the Loch Ness Monster, right? And of course,
yeah, old Nessie.
That is one of the world's biggest tourist draws is Loch Ness because of the monster. But what a lot of people who haven't been there don't realize is how beautiful, just striking, amazing that it is with or without the monster. If the monster comes along, great. Yay. You win the frickin' lottery. But it's a beautiful, beautiful, interesting place nonetheless. And we have a nice picture up there. There's a whole little section in National Geographic about Loch Ness.
Sure.
Go check it out. And speaking of zombies, Elijah Wood, who has gone from being just an actor, a very successful actor. Of course, he was Frodo, obviously.
Yes, he was.
In The Lord of the Rings. And he was a child actor, a very successful child actor. But he's now making movies, and a lot of the movies he is putting together are horror movies. And his latest is a horror comedy called Cooties. And he's a teacher, and Rainn Wilson is one of them. Looks like a really funny cast, actually. And the teachers, these misfit teachers, have to band together when all the students in their elementary school turn into zombies.
More zombies. Zombies are everywhere these days.
They are.
They have totally taken over pop culture. Kids turn into zombies. Teachers must band together. Elijah Wood's new movie. You're not going to want to miss it. You can check it out on YouTube over there, I guess, a little clip of it as well. So,
oh, yes.
Check it out after the show.
So here's something. I don't know if I can't imagine how I've missed this, but I have. This is the first time that I have seen this. Have you heard of this thing called Bats Day in Southern California?
I have not.
Apparently, this has been going on for a while now, and it started with just a gathering of 80 people. This year, they're expecting 10,000 goths at Disneyland.
Whoa!
Picture that. 10,000 goths descending upon Disneyland.
Yeah, that will be interesting. 10,000 gothic people that dress that way, that live that lifestyle, ascending on the happiest place on earth.
Oh, my God. And think of the lines at the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, no kidding. You'll be able to go on every other ride except for the Haunted Mansion.
And this is a whole weekend thing. Sunday, the 31st, is when they actually head into Disneyland. But Friday, there's a bunch of other activities. And this all centers around, the Haunted Mansion is where Bats Day originally comes from. But there's events all weekend long. Friday, the Happy Hunts swinging wake costume celebration, bunch of other
And it's not even October.
Saturday, more stuff going on. Haunted Mansion Group tribute art show, and then Sunday, Katie bar the door, 10,000 goths.
Oh my gosh! You know, and what's funny is it's not even October.
It's nowhere near it.
You know, and normally they reserve that kind of stuff for October.
I'm not sure why it's this weekend. I mean, this weekend there are so many events and activities. I don't know if there's any other weekend, possibly 4th of July, I don't know, where there's so many events.
It just seems strange. You know, this time of year. You know, Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
You would think that they would be more of an October feel for that, but then again, I could be wrong.
I don't know. I'll have to look further into it why Memorial Day weekend is when they hold this. Moving along, let's go back in time. How about 3.3 million years? A bunch of archaeologists were out cruising around. They were heading for a site, for a dig site in Kenya. They took a wrong turn. The wrong turn led them to the oldest stone tools yet discovered. And these are not humans. This is 3.3 million years ago. These were pre-humans using stone tools in Kenya. 3.3 million years ago.
Huh. Interesting. Tools.
Stone tools.
That they're dating. That blows a lot of things out of the water, man.
Well, I think I'm recalling, this is from memory, I'm not exactly sure, but I think this discovery, and this just happened in the last couple of days, or at least it was just published in the last couple of days. This sends back what they believe to be the first use of tools by something like 750,000 years.
Yeah, I was going to say that pushes that even back further. That's really cool.
Because when you think of the hominins is what they're called, the pre-hominids, which is what we are. If you think of it, you think of Lucy, right? And Lucy's from about that era, the one the skeleton the Leakeys found, super famous.
Yeah.
In that general area, actually. And she's around that age, something like that. So she's a tiny little thing and really, frankly, looks much more like an ape than like a human. And imagine her using stone tools.
That really changes the game in a lot of ways because it pushes human evolution way back. It'll be interesting to see as we move forward what else we uncover.
Well, they're saying now, there's no reason to think at this point that these are the earliest. There's no reason.
Yeah, I mean, there is no reason to think that. I'm sure that if we look really, really hard, we will find even more primitive tools that are older because these actually look pretty well made, to be honest with you. It looks like somebody knew what they're doing and they first made this tool like they've seen this tool before because generally when you see a prototype first-time tool, it looks way rougher than this.
I agree. They look very impressive. And they were talking about there were weapons. They were chipping off flint to use for the sharp edge. There were scrapers, did various things. Very, very impressive. And who knows how far back this is going to go. Speaking of ancient treasures, this is just heartbreaking. So our friends at ISIS...
Oh, boy.
the scum of the Middle East have now taken over the area in Iraq called Palmyra, and there are yet more ancient treasures, archaeological treasures that are in this area now under ISIS control. And, of course, when they have gained control over ancient treasures before, they've destroyed them.
Yeah, they've destroyed them, so everybody... can't enjoy them anymore. We can't learn from them. You gotta love the ISIS.
Yeah, they're so enlightened, don't you think?
Yeah, they're a great group of guys, let me tell you.
They rule. So it is really kind of amazing, what's in this general area. Some of these things, Hadrian's Gate. My goodness, I've certainly heard of that. Yeah. And there's a desert citadel. I mean, these are ancient treasures that have withstood the predations of time over thousands of years. And now these butt munches are potentially going to destroy them.
Oh, they're going to ruin it for everybody. You know that. You know they're going to ruin it for everybody. They always do. They always lose their heads over everything.
And Temple of Baal, that's the other one. The Temple of Baal, B-A'-A-L, which I've also certainly heard of,
of Baal
is also in that territory. So let's hope that the other side, the side that we're supporting, I guess, takes over before more damage can...
Exactly. Stop them. Stop them now before they destroy everything. But if you want to learn more about America's Most Haunted, go ahead and visit www.americas-most-haunted.com. Or you can also follow us all on Twitter over here at America's Most Haunted at Twitter. Boy, oh boy, I cannot talk for some odd reason. I think it's that whole guitar thing. My hands kind of hurt, man, but anyhow.
Oh, man.
I know it sucks. We have a great guest coming on. We have Kristy Robinett coming, so you're not going to want to go anywhere, everybody. Stick around, listen in, have a good time.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed,
680 to 90, 10-4.
could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, this is Joel Sturgis, one of your hosts of After Hours AM, and I'm here to tell you all about Planet Paranormal. Planet Paranormal is the place that you can hear every single After Hours AM podcast right from the very, very beginning. So tune in over at www.planetparanormal.com. That's right, planetparanormal.com. You'll be extremely glad you did.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If pop culture is to be believed, roughly 40% of all people are actually vampires, or dating one. Well, undead or not, you can always save on a clean, comfortable room at Motel 6, even if you sleep during the day because direct sunlight turns you into a pile of sparkly coffee grounds. Speaking of which, we have free coffee every morning. You day sleepers may want to go for the decaf. I'm Tom Bodette, and we'll leave the light on for you. Book online at motel6.com.
America's Most Haunted, The Secrets of Famous Paranormal Places is now an epic book from Berkeley Penguin. History, legends, investigations, interviews, and profiles of America's 10 most haunted hotspots by Eric Olson and haunted housewife Teresa Argy. Be sure to join us on Twitter and Facebook at AM Haunted, Pinterest at America's Most Haunted, and our website, americas-most-haunted.com. And here every week on America's Most Haunted Radio with all the top names in the paranormal field.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, Thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
You were dead! I saw you die! I was faking. I used ninja focus to slow my heart rate down. What are you doing? I'm burying you. I'm alive! I'm alive! You're waking the neighbors! No. Shut up! No! Now I'm gonna play your drum set.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. Yeah, we're that nuclear weapon, that mass destruction coming right at you, but we're having fun doing it. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is
Eric Olson.
And
zero F-bomb.
Zero. Hey, this show will be F-bomb free. So, I can promise that. Area 1. Except if we say fruit, that's F. That's F word, right? Fruit is the F word, right?
Yeah, but that one's okay.
I don't think it's the F word, though, that they're talking about.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Nor is flippin' or any of the other euphemisms.
How about fun?
Fun is good. That was so fun and fun.
That was flippin' fun, man.
Or effin'. God, that was effin' fun.
Yes. Well, Eric, who do we have on tap tonight? I know we've got a super awesome guest.
She is super awesome. I can't believe it's already been a year. I was just looking back since we spoke and had such a great time. Kristy Robinett is a professional psychic medium and author who began seeing spirits at the age of 3. When she was 8, the spirit of her deceased grandfather helped her escape from a would-be kidnapper. And it was then that Robinett realized the other side wasn't so far away and could be of immense importance to the living. When Kristy was 13, she met the most fascinating spirit guide of them all, Edgar Allan Poe. Yes, the author.
The Poe man.
Dentist, not the dentist. Forevermore, her latest book, tells the true story of how the spirit of Edgar Allan Poe helped Kristy fulfill her destiny as a writer and psychic medium. There is so much more to tell, but welcome to the show, Kristy Robinett.
Yay, thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, not a problem. Edgar Allan Poe, you say?
I know, right? It sounds so far-fetched, and it still is kind of crazy when I try to explain it to somebody who absolutely has no idea, especially anyone that has no idea about the metaphysical psychic world. Well, they pretty much give you that raised eyebrow.
It's funny because before the show, after I did a little bit of research, I said, Eric, Edgar Allan Poe, really, Eric? And he's like, no, just hear her out first. Oh, okay, I will. Don't worry, I will. But no, that's really cool. Now, how did you figure out it was Edgar Allan Poe? I guess that's the first question out of the gate. Did he have any ID with him?
Well, seriously, pretty much everybody knows what Poe looks like. So, you definitely didn't need to figure that one out. And he has a personality that, is definitely one in a zillion. So I knew immediately that it was Poe. I just didn't know why Poe. And I didn't know why me. And that's sort of where Forevermore came from. And it's interesting and sort of back up. I wrote the book and I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell my family. I didn't tell my publisher. I didn't tell anybody except for Poe. Poe knew that I was writing it. And I wrote it, and I wrote it really for him and I, just to sort of go through the travels and the journey that him and I had gone through. And I handed it to my husband, and I said, I really think you need to read this. And he had a bit of he was stunned like you were. and
Sure.
I hate to say skeptical, but it was amazement, and it was a yeah, right, and it definitely was surprising. So when I handed it to my publisher and I said, I know you guys probably aren't going to want this, but read it, just for kicks. And I had a contract on my desk the next day. So when I always say, don't be so denying of it. I give actual evidence as to how and why, and I always say I don't claim Poe as my own. I know that he helps guide several other people. He is reincarnated or soul split a few times as well. So he's not all mine. Thank God he's not all mine.
I would imagine someone like that, of that stature in the literary world, or just as a figure like that in history, he was quite animated and probably, wow, what's the word I'm looking for? He must have been a lot to handle, I guess.
He absolutely is, but I mean, he's extremely intelligent, and he definitely has a side of him that many people don't know, or at least the media doesn't portray him out to be. It's interesting because I just found out that PBS is doing a documentary on him that will air next year, and I'm really excited about it because one of my favorite actors is going to be playing Poe, and he looks just like him that it's creepy. Dennis O'Hara. So if you guys watch, why am I drawing a blank? If American Horror Story. So, he's on that. But yeah, he definitely is portrayed as the madman, in the media of today, and his books are so gothic and horror and, very sad and depressing, but really he had a passion and he had a lot of love, and it was a lot of losses that he encountered through his life that bittered him, and that's why he became such a phenomenal genius with his writing.
Very, very interesting, because I'm looking a little bit. You're right; they do look very similar, the actor to Poe. That will be an interesting PBS special because PBS is, as we know, will put the real deal out there. It won't be dramatized too much or anything like that. It'll be just the facts, and it'll be really good to see that and get that information out there.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and there's been a lot of things that Poe has been portrayed in that he has not been so thrilled with, and I'll name it, the following. Okay. So he wasn't so thrilled with being, the person that was, utilizing his literature to become a serial killer.
So he's aware of the pop culture that's around him and the way that we portray him today.
Yeah, in a really kind of kooky way, he is. And I had another radio host ask me why I don't blog about channeling him and blog through pop culture.
You should have a Twitter feed that says stuff that Poe says.
Yeah, I've thought of it, in my spare time, maybe, but it definitely is. He comes up with some great things. He certainly does, and he really just wanted me to tell the true story of what had happened to him, and along the way, our destinies sort of combined into one. The interesting thing with Forevermore, and again, I know that this is kind of, nutty as well, is that I had a past life with him. And so I get a lot of questions as to, well, why you? And I didn't know that at the time either.
What did you guys do together in your past life?
So I'll tell a little blip of it. I don't want to completely spill everything in the book.
Yeah, don't give us the whole thing, but just kind of give us a little teaser.
Sure. So Poe obviously had lost a lot of people in his life. He was abandoned as a small child, lost his mom and his dad, and he was given over to a very wealthy family. And then his adopted mom, ended up passing away. So, I mean, he had so many deaths in his life, and his siblings were all separated. So the family that he had really wasn't his family at all. So through all of these losses, I mean, he was a writer. He loved to write. He loved to act. He loved that. I mean, he would have been a great radio host. I mean, he loved anything to do with theater, and that doesn't pay. You know, it didn't pay then. It rarely pays now.
That's
that
so
hasn't
true.
Changed much, right?
Yeah.
So-
Hey, kids, you want to get rich? Don't become a radio host.
or an author. So it unless you're Stephen King. But so you know, he was trying his darndest to make a living as being a writer. And he was just getting criticized. People did not like him. And because he told the truth, he was a very blunt person. And so they pretty much, you know, had a target on his head. He was beaten really badly as a child. His adopted father, beat him really badly, and he ended up having horrific migraines, just terrible, terrible migraines. And he would go into almost like a psychic vision with it. You know, sort of, if you've ever had a migraine, they call them auras. So you do see,
Sure.
you know, strange things. But with his, he would have like psychic experiences. So scene 2, I guess you could say. So with the past life with myself, my husband at that time in the 1800s had moved my kids and I to the East Coast, and he had put me there, and I wasn't so thrilled with it. He was a lawyer, and he was a very well-known lawyer in that area, politician. And it ended up that I was a medium in a past life. And Poe and I had met through one of the, you know, political type of affairs. And he knew that I was a medium. And so he would bring me over to his house. And he sorely missed his parents and his family and his wife that had passed away. And I actually would do seances with him.
Interesting.
So we had no love affair. There was nothing. He was actually friends with my
Platonic.
husband.
It was all platonic. I assure
Yeah,
you.
it really was. No, it really, really was. And I mean, he had so many loves. He was a player. Poe was a player.
Well, yeah.
So he didn't need me. Yeah, he actually was kind of like a big brother to me. So he ended up getting involved in police work. He was an armchair detective, and he wanted really badly to solve cases. So he started working, and this is all true. This is all documented. He started to work with Pinkerton Security. And he wanted these rewards. There was a kind of like a Jack the Ripper thing that was going on. There were some serial killers serial killings that were happening in the area that he was residing, and he wanted to solve the crime. And so he was doing his own sleuthing, and he was going to sell these articles to the local newspaper, and then he was going to spotlight who the killer or killers were. And then he ended up dying himself. Dun,
Wow.
dun, dun.
Yeah, so he was actually, probably more than people realize, into solving the mystery itself is what his big thing was, to get the mystery solved and help the police.
And to get money.
And because
there really was a monetary. I don't want to make him out to be such a martyr. I mean, he had a big heart, but he really wanted to be accepted as somebody who was serious in both writing and both in detective work.
Well, yeah, that, and he married his 13-year-old cousin. So, I mean, you know, that makes him kind of an odd fellow to begin with.
Yeah, you know, that really wasn't that odd back then. You know, and that's another thing that people really, you know, portray as, boy, what a creeper. He loved her, but they really didn't have the romantic relationship like a lot of people would think. It was convenient. He loved his aunt, his mother-in-law. It was a very happy, even though she was sickly, his wife, it was a very happy environment that he never had before. They played the piano, they sang. It was just a very, very uplifting experience for him, and he didn't want to leave that. He didn't want to go away and leave that. So it just became natural for him to marry her. But it really wasn't. It's pretty much like you hear a lot of stories and even ghost stories about the guy marries, somebody he loves, and then she dies, and then he marries her sister, and it's like, oh, it's so scathing. And most of the time, back then, it was to take care of the kids. This was to just have that family experience. It wasn't sexual at all. He actually had girlfriends, which, was
while he was married.
But yeah, he's gonna kill me for saying that, but yeah, he really did. He had he had girlfriends. He had lovers.
Well, it must have been. It was a different time and place in history.
No, there's still lots of people that are married that have lovers.
No. What I'm saying is, it was
every
a little.
Every now and then that happens.
Well, every now and again, but what I'm saying is the cousin part. Like we touched on, it's a different time and place in history. Is a little more accepted. As far as having lovers while you're married, that will never end, I'm sure. And so, for some people.
You know what I just found out?
What? That you were
quite recently. So how odd was that to have lived my whole life thus far and not know this? My grandfather, my father's father, was married. She died young. He married her sister. That's my grandmother. I had no idea.
That is kind of really interesting. That's...
No idea. No idea.
It happened frequently back then. And then Poe also, you have to think, he was adopted. So that wasn't his blood cousin.
No, I mean, the Poe that we know of from popular culture is drunk in the streets.
Right.
I mean, that's really what they portray him as a
How
madman.
Would you like your legacy to be that, right?
True. I mean,
everything he accomplished.
They portray him as a madman writer, drunk in the streets. I mean, really is how they portray him. He did a lot more with his life than what popular culture puts out there. And still, his writings are as scary as hell as they were when he first wrote them. You read Telltale Heart, you read all those, they still scare you.
Well, we saw The Raven, the movie, the John Cusack, and actually fairly recently, and that was the whole family. My son, who's 11, he became absolutely enthralled, and he went out and read everything we have. I got a huge, collected works of Poe book, and I mean, he just burned through that thing. He's 11 years old. He was absolutely fascinated. It's interesting from your description, though, Kristy. That's a lot closer to the Poe of The Raven. I'm talking about the 2012 movie with John Cusack. That's a lot closer to his personality and his kind of stature, which you're portraying, than anything like what is typically portrayed. In that movie, he was a much more together, forceful, attractive, appealing figure, and it sounds like he was a lot closer to that than the common perception that we have these days.
And he died crazy young, by the way.
Yeah.
40. I mean, that's how old I am now, and oh my God, I still have a lot of life left in me. I couldn't imagine dying at 40.
So you're going to tell us what happened to him? Or
No.
is that...
No, but it's true.
No.
I mean, he was no, and that ends the show.
Well, here we go, guys. Thank you for listening.
It's true. I mean, he was extremely good looking. Cusack did a great job of portraying Poe, and but no, he was, and the whole, the mustache and the bushy eyebrows, that actually was maybe how you have the awkward times in your life? That was his awkward, 2 years of his life. He really didn't look like that. He really was very clean shaven, and
he was
a ladies' man.
He didn't have the cheesy little mustache with the hair uncombed.
He didn't. So it's so funny how the cult, part of that following of Poe, which he's got a huge following, that, that's exactly how they denote him. And, I think he's very honored, that he is so looked at. Most people think of it as, Halloween time because of the gothicness of everything, which he doesn't quite understand, at all either. But it definitely, he got his legacy in death, even if it's through the whole the drunk, madman wandering the streets. I can't say, that he was innocent through a lot of the things, and he didn't drink. He did have a drinking problem. He had tried to stop, He did take opium, but opium at the time was a drug that was used for different medical ailments, including migraines.
Oh, they used to give out opium in liquid form. Wow, for a very, very, very long time.
Sure.
It was basically the snake oil of that time. Anything that ails you.
Sure, yeah. And so, people always assume, oh boy, what a lazy bum he was. And I look at all the works that he did. We wouldn't have, he wrote sci-fi, he wrote detective, he wrote horror. I mean, he did so many different genres that we forget. We wouldn't have Sherlock Holmes if it wasn't for Poe. We wouldn't have Star Trek or Star Wars if it wasn't for Poe. He was really the person that decided to write that. And he wrote a lot of religious works as well. He questioned faith. He questioned God. He questioned, the Big Bang Theory. So, I mean, he was a very huge philosopher. So you can't be a drunk, and write the things that he did. There's just no way.
Well, you can't only be a drunk, put it that way. Hey, you know what really fascinates me, as always, are the mechanics. So how often does he visit you, and how does he visit you?
So I see those on the other side like physical forms. So I see them just like you and I, and often I don't know if it's somebody that has passed away or if it's, somebody like us. So there's times I even have to ask my family, why is that person staring at me? And they're like, what are you talking about? So then I get my answer. But so he shows himself in physical form, and he pretty much shows up whenever he darn well wants to show up. And
so 2 in the morning,
that's annoying.
You might have Poe staring at you 2 in the morning. Good, hey,
yeah,
get up.
Exactly. Get up. Got it right. It's time. We have that, and we also got a lot of visits from ravens. And so that is always, in fact, my daughter has a pretty cool story. Not too long ago, she had to take an exam, and she was sitting outside of the library, and she's a huge skeptic. So she text messaged me this. So this was huge for her. And she's like, Poe, I don't know how well you are with math or with chemistry, which, by the way, he's not so great. But I need your help. I'm hoping that you can help me. And she said all of a sudden a raven landed on the car right in front of her and just stared at her. And she's like, okay, that would be a yes. So he shows up in our lives in that way. And I think we always, have signs from our loved ones, our helpers on the other side. We just are often not looking. Or we're paying attention like we should be. But yeah, he shows up. He's not always around. He's around for a reason. So as I mentioned before, that he was trying to solve a series of crimes that was happening around him. Well, those similar series of crimes continue to today. And I probably told the same story last year that I was on. But when I was 3 years old, I saw spirits, and I had my prediction of my grandmother passing away, and then she unexpectedly passed away, so-called, in quotes, unexpectedly passed away. My parents weren't too thrilled, and they dragged me to the Lutheran school and tried to help get me some
those darn Lutherans. Oh, wait a minute, I am one.
Missouri Synod, crazy Lutherans. So I went to school, and the only one that didn't make fun of me for these imaginary friends, these so-called imaginary friends, or for these people on the other side that I was seeing and communicating with and sensing, was my grandfather. And that was the husband of the wife that I had predicted that was going to pass. And I felt always bad. I almost felt like I was cursed because I'm the one that made the prediction, and then she passed away. So I kind of felt like somehow I played into that. I mean, I was 3-4 years old, so it's hard to rationalize that at that age. It's hard to rationalize that at 44 years old. So, but my grandfather was like my best friend, and he was found beaten and near death next to his bed when I was about 8 years old, and taken to the hospital. And he kept asking for me, and he had a dozen grandkids. I was the youngest one, and he didn't play favorites as much as he was my favorite. He really was a very fair man, and my parents wouldn't let me go see him. You had to be 16 in order to go to ICU at that time. And so he passed away before I could, figure out why he was asking for me. But at the cemetery, he told me, Kristy, I will always be there, always protect you. And, you need to be there for your mom. She's going to have a hard time. And you can always call on me anytime that you need me, but I will be there. And I need you to understand that I do understand what you're going through, because I am one too. So my grandpa was a sensitive as well, and that would have been nice to know, as
a little info that would have been great to hear.
Yeah, it would have been helpful. But he didn't, and he was religious as well. So it probably, he didn't have anybody to explain it to him either. So, so it was a couple weeks after that. My mom and dad went to the mall, taking me. I was 8, so I got dragged there as well. And I was a reader, still am, and had a book. And they set me in front of a fountain and said, "Read this book, we'll be back." And this was before cell phones, so it's like, don't move, you stay there. And they took off, and that was part of my mom's therapy, was shopping. So my dad handed her a bunch of credit cards, and off they went. Yeah. So cheaper than a psychiatrist.
Well, this is true.
It really is. So they ended up, were only gone for minutes, and this man came up to me with a camera around his neck, and like a real camera, we didn't have digital back then. This is in the 70s, and asked if he could take a photo, and he took a photo, and he asked me to stand up. The lighting wasn't right, and I stood up, and he took another photo, and then he started to drag me towards the exit.
I was going to say, did he have candy?
Yeah, no, he didn't. Okay. Darn, I didn't even get that out of it. So I'm being dragged towards the exit, and I could feel my grandfather in back of me. I could smell a cigarette smoke, and I could, he was a large man, and I could sense him, and I could smell him, and I just knew, how you can close your eyes, and someone walks in the room, and you just know that it's them by the way they walk, and I just knew it was my grand. And then he spoke, and he said, "Kristy, run," and it went really, really quick. A lot of people are like, "Well, why did you go with him immediately?" It wasn't voluntary, and it went really, really quickly. And I did, and I got out of his grasp, and I ran and got my parents.
Wow. So your grandfather helped you at that predicament.
Yeah, from heaven. And it ended up, that was 1979, and at the time in Michigan, there was a serial killer called the Oakland County Killer, or the Babysitter.
Wow.
And they believe he saved my life.
That's pretty darn tootin' cool story right there. We got to run to break, though, everybody. You're going to stick around. More Kristy Robinett, more Edgar Allan Poe, more spirited, awesome discussion right after this.
Patients can't afford a place to stay when the best treatment is far from home. A room shouldn't be the difference between life and death. Let's make sure that everyone who needs a room gets one. Let's make some noise. Let's help the American Cancer Society finish the fight.
Text ROOM to 41518 to donate $10.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us. Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So Daddy's little girl thinks she's going to prom tonight with some punk who calls himself Snake.
Yeah, they grow up so fast.
Well, not if I can help it, they don't.
Okay, here's what you do. When that kid shows up, Dad's going to be doing a few chores around the house.
Huh?
It doesn't matter the chore. What's important is that it requires the use of a 60cc gas-powered chainsaw and possibly a mask.
I think it's showtime.
He's here. Dad, I want you to meet...
All right, let her rip.
What's that, honey? Hi, Snake. Great to meet you. But wait, where are you going?
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
What's happening, hot stuff?
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along me, as always,
Eric Olson.
And we are talking to, well, Kristy Robinett, and we are talking about Edgar Allan Poe, because I'm still kind of, I have this question in my head. I just want to ask, what's Poe up to these days? What's he do for fun?
He's hanging. That's about it. He's hanging. No, he actually, like I said, he guides several different people. So, and he has been guiding a journalist, and he's guides a lot of music people. So pretty much like those on the other side, they have jobs.
You know, I think my spirit guide, though, not to butt in, is a practical joker. Because look at the way he's guided my life. I'm behind a microphone, jerk.
Oh, man,
My
look at
husband
my
says
life. Holy cats. You want to talk about a winding path? I think I'm being guided by a snake.
An autistic snake.
God, my circuitous winding path through life. It's ridiculous.
Well,
Redonkulous is what it is.
Getting back to what Poe is up to these days. So he is still he is a spirit guide to journalists, and really it seems like he's a spirit guide to people that are very artistic.
Similar, well, we vibrationally, we are attracted to those that are like us or that have similar interests that we do. And so when we go to the other side, that's exactly, what happens is we are sort of given the role of, so I had to laugh. So are you vibrationally aligned to a snake? I'm kind of trying to figure that one out. But we're like attracts like, and that's how we end up getting matched to our spirit guides.
Oh, great. I'm going to be stuck with Paul Harvey somewhere going, and now that's the rest of the story.
Kristy, seriously, because, we're being lighthearted in some ways. I'm really interested to hear more about just kind of the general, not you per se, because you're so much more sensitive. How does the spirit guide work with the average person, the person who is not, literally seeing entities as if they were solid bodies like you do? But just the average person. How does the spirit guide interact with them, and how would I, for example, find out who my spirit guide or guides are, and then secondly, I would like to have a word with that person.
Yeah, no kidding. I got some words.
Everybody has
worded letter is what I'm going to do.
That's fine. Well, no, and that actually might help. No, everybody does have a spirit guide or spirit guides, and whether you want them, you don't want them, you know it or not. And so there's lots of different ways to connect with your guides, and everybody has that ability to connect with their guides as well. It just has to be an intention. So it is noticing the signs and the symbols. A lot of times we think that what's going on in our lives are random, and it never really is. So it's looking at those so-called coincidences and seeing, that it might have happened at the right time, such as you felt that nudge to get off the freeway, and then you hear of an accident. That was in the next exit. It's paying attention to the people that are being sent your way. So there's several reasons why they are there. And it even includes the painful lessons that we've had. So if, you say you keep meeting somebody, that's the name of your grandmother, and there's that constant. Doesn't mean your grandmother is your guide, but it means that there is that heaven hello, and there's still supposed to be a connection. But guides can, just like angels, can come in the way of human form as well, and help you with that. So they're not a constant in your life, but it can be that so-called chance.
So can you tell?
Listen.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, can you tell people who their spirit guides are?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is I don't like to. So, because I almost feel like it's cheating. I feel like it's sort of like a person. I know you're like.
Gee, I was just about to ask you. I was going to be like, hey, who's mine then?
Oh, Mom.
Mine's probably Hitler or something.
I think it's a personal experience. I think that it's because we doubt it, and when I do the meditation, and Forevermore actually has a Find Your Spirit Guide meditation at the end. But when I do the meditation with different classes and such, I always say, take the first name that comes to you. What are you seeing? Are you seeing feathers? Are you seeing, what kind of shoes are you seeing on them? Go back to the period of time that most interests you. It tends to be a spirit guide's time. Like if somebody loves the Westerns, you might have somebody that, lived in that period of time. That's your spirit guide. And so I think that the meditation is important in order to, have that personal experience, and know that you're not imagining it, because a lot of times we think, oh, that's just a coincidence. Are you for sure that, Michael is my spirit guide's name, or that's a weird name? So it's actually trusting yourself.
Yeah. So not everybody has famous spirit guides. Like Edgar Allan Poe or John Lennon or anything like that. It's probably like normal people as well that are spirit guides.
Yeah, it's true. What's funny, though? When I came out with this book, I was told by my publisher, by my publicist, get ready because you're going to probably be eaten alive. So just be prepared. And the interesting thing is the book's been out since October. So I have actually had a really good response, and I have had probably a dozen plus people say, I've always felt like Poe was my guide. And I've even had celebrities come to me and say, I've always had this, I've sat down, I was 10 years old, and I've always had this attraction to the poetry, and I write the way that he does. And I've been told that, I remind people of Poe, and it's not just, a mustache and, crazy gothic clothes or anything, that there's a way. And so I kind of felt like it was everyone on the playground is like, okay, now we're all going to fight over who's Poe, guiding right now.
Maybe
but no,
that's
they
a
were
full
really
army of Poes.
Yes, maybe they're cranking him out as we speak. There's a Poe factory.
But it's really interesting because I think that, think of somebody that has died, that hasn't been alive since you have, and think of who you might be connected to. And I bet you can find somebody. And it could be that they're guiding you.
Yeah, when you put it that way. I mean, if you feel a certain connection or gravity towards something, I mean, like I said, chances are it's because your spirit guide has had dealings with it, like the Old West or the mountains or even the water, because there's some people that are drawn, for instance, to the water, and they just don't know why. Why do I want to be in that boat so bad? Why do I want to be in the open sea? I don't know why. I never, I just can't get rid of it.
Right. So, like, why did you go into radio?
For the chicks. The chicks.
For the chicks. Okay, then go to a spirit guide that might have been a musician or somebody in that type of industry that was a Casanova.
Actually, I went into radio because I was the best option available at the time.
That's not true.
Like,
I'm psychic, and I know that that's not true.
No, but no, seriously, on a serious note, like you said, it seems like spirit guides, if I'm understanding you correctly, they guide like people, like interests. And is there a reason for that?
Yeah, well, it's to help you have the best life purpose as you can. The thing is, we do have transitional guides as well. So if we're going through financial problems, we might have somebody that pops on that was good with finances or was a banker.
Like Bill Gates?
Yeah, but he's still here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he can't be our spirit guide, man. Sorry, he's out of the running.
Morgan.
Warren Buffett.
Midas.
There you go. Steve Jobs, he was a millionaire.
Rockefeller.
There. Yeah, Rockefeller, that's a good one.
Well,
so absolutely, and you can actually call on different guides, and that sounds really crazy as well. So pretty much like what you guys are doing, you can do that as well, and it's sort of like dialing the phone. It doesn't mean that they can pop up like a genie, but you can sort of put that Batman signal out and say, hey, this is what I need. I need more finances, or my health is really bad, so I need somebody that can help me, with regards to that, or get me to the right doctor, or have the doctor give the right diagnosis.
Well, can somebody just stop what they're doing and just call out and say to your guide, I don't know what to do next. I need some guidance.
Sure.
And does that work, or is that one of those hit and miss deals, or is it some of this we have to learn on our own?
I believe in free will, free choice. So they're never going to make you do something that's not of your free will. But if you're asking, then you're asking to be put on that right path. The problem with people is that they want that instant, gratification that it's going to happen.
Sure, they want the light to come down. And
it's not. It's a fast food society. It's not a fast food spiritual, path. It just doesn't work that way.
Okay, so it might not be that second that you say, give me some guidance. It might take some time, because it's like steering a large ship. It takes a long time for it to get back to that right path. So it takes time.
And patience.
Yes.
Sure. And believing.
Well, here's my problem, or what I perceive to be my problem. I have always been pulled in so many different directions. I'm extremely eclectic. My interests are eclectic. My tastes are eclectic. I'm pulled, and I'm never sure at any given time what is the correct direction to go in, because I feel drawn and pulled by so many different directions. And at this stage of my life, I should be old enough where I have some of that stuff figured out. It is maddening to not know what I'm supposed to be doing.
And I think that my number one question that I get in my office is, what is my life purpose? And my answer to everybody is always, as long as you're serving a purpose, you're doing your life purpose.
How very Yoda of you.
But it's true, right?
Yeah, it is true. It just sounds like something Yoda would say sitting in the log.
Many things that you're...
Yeah, exactly. Many things you are doing already what you are destined to do.
It's true. No, it's true, because there's a lot of people out there not doing nothing. So really, Eric, you're doing a ton of things. So you give yourself credit for at least being a multitasker.
Yay!
Eric is an extremely talented person. Eric is a very talented guy. He not only is a musician, he's a writer, he has been an actor. The dude is everywhere. He's very, very talented. So Eric, give yourself a little bit more credit.
All right, I give myself a little more credit. But still, at this stage of my life, you would think that I would have figured out kind of the one main thing that I am supposed to do. I don't know. I'm feeling sorry for myself. I realize that. Hey,
what are you astrologically, Eric?
I am a Leo. I am the Leo-iest Leo.
So August what?
5th.
Okay. So the interesting thing with Leos though is that they get frustrated really, really easily. So you getting frustrated about that is so normal. It really is. I've got 2 Leos in my life. I got both of my daughters are Leos.
See, I'm a Virgo. And I find myself being a perfectionist.
Yeah, that's you analyze
big time.
Things to a fault.
Everything gets analyzed. Everything that happens. I was born August 25th. And so I'm definitely a big time Virgo, and everything gets under the microscope. Everything.
Well, and you don't like to be micromanaged.
Oh,
Neither of you
no.
do, which is why you can't work a normal corporate job.
Exactly. Hit the nail around the head. I need more time off to do, go surfing. Even though I don't surf.
But no, it really, I don't think that either of you are distracted from the life purpose. I think that, eventually it all kind of comes together and just waiting for that all to come together.
I keep plugging away,
Yeah,
Look at he sounds like Eeyore all of a sudden.
Doesn't he? He sounds all deflated. Oh, I guess it'll be a good time at my house tonight. Oh boy, I'm gonna go to bed. Yes, no, it's all good though.
Someone took my tail.
Exactly. Somebody urinated in my Cheerios again.
All right, I'm back. Kristy. All right, so as you were saying, the Poe book, Forevermore, and everyone should buy that, by the way. Do not pass go without picking up Forevermore. It is fascinating. You want to know how Edgar Allan Poe died? It's in there, straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. But as we were saying, that's already been out. Now getting 9 months or so. We've certainly passed the 6-month mark. Because I keep track, because that's when America's Most Haunted came out, too. Same time. So you have been working on a new book, and that one comes out in August. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, it is called It's a Wonderful Afterlife, inspiring true stories from a psychic medium. And one of the questions that I get most all of the time is, how do I communicate with my loved one on the other side? So obviously my profession is to connect those that come to me with their loved ones.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because my dad died about a little over a year ago, and I've been trying to connect with the dude. It's tough.
Well, and so just a little over a year?
It was actually last April.
Okay. So, and that's actually in the book. I say, before you see a medium or you really, delve into trying to dial that phone to the other side, give them about a year.
Yeah,
because it's like they've got to get acclimated to the other side as well.
It was a year April, this last April, so it was actually April 2014 that he passed.
Right. I'm sorry.
That's
rough.
Yeah, it was rough, but it's one of those things, because when somebody passes, and believe me, the last thing I want to do was reach out to a psychic medium, not because I dismiss them, but what if they give you the wrong info, was what I was thinking. I'm like, because now we're going to personal detail. We're going to personal territory. It's one of those scary things. It's different to be a radio host and hear a psychic talk to you about it, or a medium, talk about their mediumship, stuff like that, because you're disconnected. I have a very hard time opening myself up to mediums about this situation.
I don't blame you. This sounds so hypocritical. I tend to not get readings myself. And this sounds terrible because, well, for me, I'm out there. I've got my books. My books tell my life story. And they pretty much, I've had somebody verbatim, pretty much like they're reading my chapters. And now your mom is here. And mom said, I'm like, oh no.
Uh-oh. She's going to yell at me. My room's dirty, I know, but just leave me alone about it.
Yeah, no, so, I mean, it really, I completely get that. And when I read for people, they're often very, very nervous, because that's just it, is like, well, what's mom or dad or grandma, grandpa going to say? And is it going to be the right info? And is it going to be the info that's going to help me? And so this book is really about helping you make the connections with those on the other side. And it shares a lot of stories that I've heard about what heaven is like from the people on the other side and what their afterlife is like.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah. It's the interesting, I'm not going to go on full reading mode because I always ask permission, but the interesting thing about your dad is that he's a tough cookie.
Oh, he was tough, and you do have permission, by the way.
Okay, I mean, he's like militant tough.
He was a tough man.
Pretty strong.
Yep.
And he wasn't really the whole "I love you, I'm proud of you" type of dad, but you knew he was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's really proud of you.
Well, he pushed me in going to radio because
he's really proud of you.
Well, thank you.
He was ready to pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, he just keeps showing me this domino effect.
Yeah.
Of not living to the fullest that he wanted to. And he really, I say he was tough, but he really had a big heart.
Yes.
And he wants you to watch your stomach. So I don't know if he was having stomach issues or what, but he just keeps pointing to your stomach and saying, watch your stomach. There's some issues. I don't see cancer or anything bad around you.
Sure.
But he just keeps saying, watch your stomach. It's kind of like that, like an egg sitting, in it's kind of a strange
probably an ulcer
thing.
from all this work they put me through.
It could be. It's not even colon. It's like the bottom of the stomach. Legally, I'm not supposed to diagnose, but it's like the bottom of the stomach, and he just keeps saying he wants you to watch that.
Okay.
And there is a female that's with him, which feels like it's his mom. And I'm kind of squinting, and he's got a lot of people with him. There's like 15 people.
Well,
on
he's a
the
pretty
other
popular
side.
dude.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. So he says that, and I know you work in the radio, but so you may think that this is random as well, or that it's coincidence, but he keeps playing songs. So he says to pay attention to the songs.
Okay.
And that it's connected to him. So it will be like the same song over and over and over again. And he keeps showing me like the old, like those old radios.
Sure.
Like 1970, 60, 70 radios.
Yep.
And he's like playing with that and kind of how they have the ball game on, and he keeps like playing with that. So there's something to do with a song that he keeps showing.
Interesting. I should pay more attention to songs that might be around me that just keep popping up.
That are more from his era.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will come on kind of, at a like you're at the mall and they're playing pop music, and then all of a sudden, a random song.
Well, that's weird because
on.
there has been a song lately that I hear a lot of, and we were discussing it a little bit on Tuesday. It's a band called The Band, and lately the song, The Night They Drove Dixie Down, has been all around me lately. Every time I flip on the radio, and which is not a song that you would generally hear because it was, it's old and, and it's been everywhere lately, to be honest.
I'm not familiar with that song.
You've never heard that song?
I probably have.
Well, it was actually Joan Baez had the huge hit single with it. It wasn't actually a hit single at the time for the band. People kind of rediscovered that they're the ones who had written and recorded it after it was this huge hit for Joan Baez. I'm sure you would recognize it if you heard it.
So then look at the lyrics, because there will be lyrics in that will make sense.
Okay.
Even if, again, say it mentions nighttime, and the nighttime may, it kind of gives clues.
Sure.
What then comes along with that. And so that will be, connecting with that. So a lot of those so-called coincidences actually end up being signs. Now, also, he tries to come with visits, and our loved ones often try to come in visits, and those are those dreams. And he said you have had one.
Mm-hmm. I have.
So that was not a dream. That was not coincidental. That was the real thing.
Oh, so it was very vivid, to be honest with you. The dream, almost to the point where you wake. One of those dreams you wake up and you go, "Holy crap!"
Right.
It was like, "Whoa, that was really vivid." I mean, I could have swore it was one of those kind of dreams. It's like you almost smell the atmosphere, even. Yeah, I mean, if that makes any sense, because he was very much an outdoorsy kind of guy. And it was almost as if you could smell the fresh cut grass. That much detail in that dream. It kind of freaked me out, to be honest.
That's great. That's awesome, though. How awesome is that? And then he also, I mean, this is how creative he is as well, because I feel like he's going after all your different senses. So he's going auditory and a lot of auditory. And then, he's going through you can smell it and you can see him and you can have that experience. He also keeps playing me a train noise. Okay. So there's also something to do with the train noise. That one I have no idea.
Me neither. You got me on that one.
There's something with a train noise.
Joel, do you have brothers and sisters?
I do. I have some sisters.
Have you discussed any of this with them?
Not really all that much, Unfortunately, since my dad passed, we were never close to begin with. And he was kind of the guy that kept the glue together in the family. Mm-hmm. And so now that he's passed, it's just been kind of like, well, we see each other on holidays. Kind of family.
Yeah, that happens often, which is really kind of sad. And they sometimes get, not disappointed, but they do get, I'll use disappointed. Yeah. They don't get mad, but they do get disappointed. That they tried so hard to keep the family, together, and then I always call it like taffy. So you guys aren't mad at one another, but just everyone sort of went their own way.
Yeah, I was actually the closest by far to everybody because I was the only son. So him and I were very close.
Right. Yeah, and there's one that's a little bit mad at you.
Now they're probably all mad at me.
No, one more and it's the youngest of the sisters.
Interesting.
That's kind of upset.
Huh.
More like, not even like angry mad, but that there's something to do with maybe she does need that connection with you. Maybe she does feel, like you've kind of abandoned everybody as well. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's get into Dr. Phil here with you from the psychic realm.
Well, very interesting. Thanks to the reading. We got to run. Guys, we have to go to break. But more Kristy Robinett when we come back. And yes, you too can connect to your own spirit guides. And who would thunk it? So stick around and learn more.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At Ace, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at Ace, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. Ace,
the helpful place.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Only in the forest can you see this. But nothing beats the moment you see that.
Cool!
That's your child's eyes opening up to a world of possibilities.
There are some moments only the forest can inspire. Find yours at discovertheforest.org. Learn about forests near you and discover cool things to do when you go. And you might just see this. Visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Hello, and welcome to the Burger Barn.
No, I still understand you. Let's try it again.
Okay. Hello, welcome to the
Much better.
This man is learning how to become a professional intercom announcer. Yes, there are hundreds of immediate openings for annoying and inarticulate people just like you. And after just 6 short weeks at the School of Intercom Announcing, you too will be ready to frustrate thousands. We'll teach you how to blow into a microphone, how to obscure key words in important announcements.
This is the final boarding call for singing, wireless horn, order flying, and go-go city.
With your PA degree from SIA, you'll be on your way to low-paying jobs in discount stores, malls, airports, even restaurants.
Mr. First, party of 4, please.
The School of Intercom Announcing. Just dial 1-800-245-60 today.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com. The views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates. And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and always with me,
Eric Olson.
And we are talking to Kristy Robinett tonight, and we have learned a ton, actually. I wasn't expecting to learn about spirit guides and how we can find our spirit guides, and that's all really cool information, and I think that everyone should pick up all of her books, and you can find all of them on Amazon. Check them all out, because she has more than one writing out there. You have tons of them out there, Kristy. You're a busy lady. Very busy lady.
In my spare time.
It's in my spare. No big whoop. Come on. No, it's easy. But, as we were leaving, we were, of course, you gave me a reading, which thank you very, very much. I really enjoyed that, and it kind of answered a lot of questions for me personally, so thank you. And, but when you do readings for people, the mass public, I'm kind of curious what the most common questions are that they have. Is it money? Is it love? Is it loved ones? What is the most common?
Well, it depends on what they're there for. So if they're there not to necessarily connect to anybody and it's more of a psychic, it tends to be, and it depends on where the economy is. So like 7 years ago, it was all about money. Now that things have straightened out, it is about love. But those that obviously, if they're coming to connect with their loved one on the other side, the number one question is, are they okay?
Yeah, and that's common. I mean, that's pretty much. I even asked that during the break. I mean, that was my first thinking: is he okay? Is he doing fine? And it's always reassuring and good to hear that they're doing fine.
Yeah, they're not always, though, which is, again, where It's a Wonderful Afterlife kind of explains that we just don't go over to the other side and it's angel wings and, singing in the choir, that we have to go through these life reviews and we have to see where we went wrong and where we went right, and we have to learn. But then we have the choice whether we do or not. We don't have, I shouldn't say we have to learn. We have the choice to learn, and we don't change our personality. So if we were a bully here and we decide to not learn through that, we're going to be a bully on the other side. In fact, I had a client a couple weeks ago that her whole family came through, and her mom stood there next to her husband, and she says, I'm not apologizing for anything. And I'm going, oh, this is not a
happy sunshine
but I want to be
person.
honest, And I said, well, your mom is saying that she understands you're upset, but she doesn't want to apologize because she still feels that she was in the right. And she threw her hands up in the air and she goes, I would not have thought anything different. And if you had told me something different, I would have known that you weren't connecting with her. Mm-hmm. So I went, all right, well, this is not necessarily healing.
Yeah.
But they still have to do the work. And I think it actually was healing because she realized her mother's so stubborn and strong-willed that it had nothing to do with her. It had everything to do with her mother's issues.
Mm-hmm. Well, exactly. But it's got to be painful. I mean, it had to have been painful for this client to hear that the mother is still a butthead. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You would wish that they would go to the other side and receive that total enlightenment and know, oh my God, I should have treated you so horrible. Let me relay that now.
And that happens. Thankfully, that is more of the norm than what had occurred. I think that the mother had passed within the last couple years, and there is no time on the other side. I always say it's like being at a casino. There's no clock, so you lose track of time. And so maybe she didn't have enough time to be on the other side to do that review, to get it, because she wouldn't even come in the same room with her husband. They also did not get along.
Man, so even in the afterlife, they didn't like each other.
Yeah, so when she just didn't like anybody. But yeah, so I mean, we do hold on to that resentment and that regret if we choose. I mean, I always picture going up those steps to the pearly gate and going, I don't want to take my luggage. I'm checking my luggage. I just want to run up there and be as free as can be. I'm not going to be lugging all of my regrets and my resentments with me. What purpose? But we get that choice to deal with it here, and most people don't.
Interesting. They don't take the opportunity while they're here to learn. They have to do it in the afterlife.
And even as they cross the pearly gates, their head remains firmly implanted in their sphincter.
Up their rear end.
Yep. Yeah, that's, I got to ask you, I'm going to ask you the $64,000 questions here. Is there a heaven and is there a hell?
Yeah, so that is the major question. Because like I said, I was raised Lutheran. So I was raised, you cross over, you go to heaven, and you're pretty much, you never see your loved ones until you go to heaven, right?
Exactly. That's what we're all told.
You do something really bad, and you go to this horrific, fire and brimstone, and you're working in a coal mine. That's the imagery that they give you.
Exactly.
That's not necessarily true. So I often say a lot of people are living in their hell right now because they've created it. Mm-hmm. And when we go to the other side, you create what you want to create. So your heaven is the way that you want it to be. If you believe that you can, if you believe in yourself, and if you so choose to feel like you weren't worthy or you did something bad, then you live in a hell. And that is your creation as well.
But you have the choice to check that at the door.
You do. Now, there are different scenarios, such as, those that are really, really bad. Mm-hmm. Those serial killers and those rapists and molesters and all of that. I mean, there's a little bit of a different level that they go to. Not everybody. I always say it's like a apartment building. You want to be at the penthouse, right?
Well, everyone wants to be at the penthouse.
Who wants to be on the basement apartment? That's not cool.
But so there is a hell, like for Adolf Hitler. He's not hanging around the penthouse suite, hanging out with Jimi Hendrix.
Correct. He doesn't have a key. He's not able to get onto that floor.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's good to know that there is a checks and balances in that.
He doesn't have the dates or the virgins either.
No, he doesn't have any of that good stuff. No,
dates,
unfortunately.
no virgins.
No, nothing. Someone lied to that guy. Come on.
All right, so Kristy, what I've been holding back on because it's kind of old news, but it is stunning old news, and here we are, unbelievable, in our final 18 minutes. I can't even believe it. When we met last year, it was just before the airing of Restless Souls, which was last, April, on Investigation Discovery. And I also found it is now available on Amazon Prime. So go check that out. Restless Souls is the name of the show. In the show, we have both recreation, and you are actually in it as well. So it's going back in time, and then it's also now. But the bottom line is you were brought in, well, I don't want to put it that way. There was a murder, 2004 murder, and you helped solve the case. Why don't you tell us about it?
I did. Yeah, this was the Ashley Howley story, and Ashley had gone missing from Columbus, Ohio, and Ashley ended up coming to me, and like I said, I see them physical. She ended up sitting on my bed and saying, I need you to help my family. I need you to show them where my body is so that they can put me to rest and get some closure. And after a series of searches in the place that she told me to go look in, I put the stick in the ground and said, dig. And they said, we can't. And they wanted a confession, and they believed that the boyfriend, which ultimately it doesn't take a psychic to see that was, she had said it was the boyfriend, but, obviously when you look at all these crime stories, it's the spouse or the significant other, that's the first one, that typically needs to be looked at seriously, but said this is where you need to, to look, and the cops wouldn't dig. They wanted a confession. They wanted more evidence. And there's unfortunate scenarios with this story, as several other people ended up dead before they ended up digging, and they found Ashley's remains. Oh. And she was able to be put to rest, but not before several people died. And her mother ended up passing before she could see justice served.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yeah,
wow,
it was.
Wow.
I did Restless Souls just to give Ashley a voice. And I was really happy to give her that voice. And it was really on domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's... Oh, I'm glad you're able to bring some justice for her and her family. What a hard situation she was put in, and what you were put in. At least, like I said, justice was eventually found.
Yeah, it's a very sad. I've worked on police cases for years. I continue to work on police cases, and not all of them have the resolution that this one does. A lot of times, I don't get to see it from the beginning, middle, and end. I'll get a call from the police, and they'll say, okay, this is the case that we have. What do you see? I'll give them the info, and I may never hear from them again. And again, like I said earlier in the show, we are such an instant society. We're a CSI society. You get that right away, and it takes sometimes, years and years for us to see justice resolved. And with Ashley, it was a good thing that she was able to be put to rest, and she's with her mom, and she's happy, and I see her every so often, and it's not as often as it was, and that actually makes me happy because she's finally living on the other side.
Seriously, that is great work. I mean, whenever you can bring justice in a case like that, it really makes what you do, and I'm sure for yourself, so satisfying that you're able to make that impact.
My police cases are one of my most satisfying things of my work, and going right back to the beginning, as well as Poe is very intricate in helping me with those police cases. So with him being that armchair detective, he is actually very, very good at it, and he has always been my assistant with helping me think logically through a lot of it, and psychically as well.
Why don't you tell us about another case? Just pick one out.
Oh my gosh. So even the ones, in Forevermore, I talk about a series of serial killings that are happening still today. If you Google the smiley face killer.
Right here in Minnesota. Yep.
Exactly. You will see that. And the publisher had me change the name. So Forevermore does not say that name, but that's what it's referring to. But yeah, so I've worked on several of those cases. One in particular, it actually was somebody from Wisconsin that went missing, but in a state that was not Midwest. But they believe that he was followed. So all of these series of cases, they often say are the drunks, and they're coming back from a bar and they fall into a water source.
But these are young men. These are generally college-age students. They're the tip-top physical specimens.
And smart.
I would not suspect them to just fall in the water and die. Even if they are inebriated and drunk, they are still young, strong, and capable. It makes no sense.
It doesn't. And the police are. I've gotten into a lot of arguments with some because I'll get called by private investigators or by victims' families, and the police are like, seriously, this is a cut and dry case, and I'm like, no, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. And if you look at all of these, it has a pattern with it. It tends to happen before a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
There's a series. So I have worked on the case with several different law. I have a problem, and I don't know if you can see that I'm hesitating. I will have a young man going to college next in a couple months. So even my publisher has said for me to be really quiet about that. And he fits a lot of the criteria.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely err on the side of caution. And
so there's that.
I've talked to some of the investigators on radio and got to know a few of them on this case. And we've had long discussions of what's going on. And they have their own thoughts and theories as well, but it just doesn't make any sense, a lot of that case.
The irony is, again, going back to Forevermore, this was the exact same situation that Poe was looking at.
Mm-hmm.
This was the exact same situation. So there's clues and cues back into the 1800s that has continued on to this day.
Are you saying the killer goes back to the 1800s?
I'm saying the pact, the promise, not the actual killer, but the promise.
Yeah, there's lots of theories out there, especially about this case. And being them in the same state, I have been able to really follow it. Some believe it's secret societies, others believe it's something else. We can talk a little bit more off air about that too, but very interesting. Hopefully the people, and I do believe there's more than one that's perpetrating these crimes, are brought to justice.
Yeah, I can only hope. I can only, and it is actually a very fascinating, and it's not just Wisconsin, it's Ohio, and it's Michigan, and it's, it's the Midwest. So yeah, absolutely. And I don't mean to go too much in it, but Poe refers to them as the Brotherhood, and it definitely has that connection, to that. So it's pretty interesting. Other cases I've worked on some national cases as well. I've been called on, such as Natalie Holloway and the Sean Hornbeck case, and some of the larger cases that way that I have assisted on. I always say I didn't solve any of these cases, and Natalie's is still considered, her missing. But I believe that the law enforcement is the people that are doing all of the footwork. I'm just a tool for them.
Sure, I mean, you're
a
very powerful tool in the toolbox.
I'm not a guy, so I can say that.
Well, and you've written a lot of books, and you've helped the police a lot. Does it ever get sickening being a psychic medium, where you just want to be like, oh, leave me alone, go away, just give me my peace and quiet?
Yes, I probably once a week I come home and I tell my husband I'm quitting and I'm getting a job at like Target or something, and he's like, "Yeah, right." So it ends up. I mean, it is overwhelming. My life involves death, so that is a constant, and it is exhausting to be that telephone operator from the here and the now, and the here and the there.
I always wondered that when psychics, when they do pass away, do they have an easier time transitioning to the afterlife?
I would hope so.
Just because they've dealt with it all of their life, pretty much, most of them. I mean, when it comes to be their time, is it kind of like a easy, no-brainer just do it, kind of thing? Where most of us are so unsure of what's on the other side, and God, we hopefully that no one knows about the candy bar we stole when we were 4.
You know what's funny is maybe psychics do, but I've found that nuns have a heck of a time trying to cross over. Like, they will not cross over. Like, they're afraid of death. And I've read for a lot of nuns, and they will say, are you sure that everything that we've read, that's actually there? And I'm like, oh my gosh, if you guys are having this doubt, this scares me. But a lot of Catholic nuns are afraid.
Interesting. I wouldn't think that'd be a group that'd be afraid.
Yeah, look at how old they live.
And they're literally, in their faith, married to God.
They're married to God, absolutely. Yeah, I have one that she should have, God bless her, she should have passed away probably 5 years ago, and she's like, she has got every ailment under the sun, and I think she's 99 right now. So now she's like, I'm just going to make it to 100, and she was doing like that at 95, I'm just going to make it, to 97, and, but yeah, she's just like, I don't know if what's on the other side is truly on the other side. That's all the world that she knows.
Yeah, and the thing of it is I'm sure in some ways when we're going to pass as a psychic. Does anyone ever ask you, when and how am I going to die?
All the time.
Okay, so it's not like an odd question. You get tons.
Yeah, all the time. In fact, I was in the back of a police car working on a police case in Illinois one time, and the cop's like, so you know when I'm going to die? And I'm like, I do, but I don't tell it. I never want to be the Grim Reaper. And he's like, I want to know. And I'm like, no. And he's like, no, really, I want to know. And I'm like, no. And he's like, hey, I'm the one that's got a gun and you're in the back of my car. Tell me.
I guess he had a valid point there.
Yeah, I mean, I tell him, and then he almost ran us into a tree. I'm like, this is what free will, free choice is all about. You just almost killed all of us.
But isn't free will and all that, isn't that all very fluid? I mean, can't that change in a heartbeat when you're going to go? I mean, the choices that you make.
I don't believe that we have anything written in stone. Absolutely.
Kristy, I have what will sound like an odd question, I am sure. It's been occurring to me throughout the whole program, though. So, taking into account various things that you have said, I think I better ask it. Is it possible that Jesus himself functions as a spirit guide?
Absolutely.
To each and every one of us. Remember that, Eric? Huh? You're a good Lutheran boy, just like I am. You know he's to everybody. But
is that true?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, no, I don't think so. I think that we have to, let's go back to our parochial upbringing. We have to let him in our heart. So if we don't allow him in our heart, then he won't be able to guide. He's waiting in the wings, allowing that.
And good question, Eric. Good question, man.
Thank you. Well, that's very interesting. And I'm going to have to ponder that further as we move along. Hey, let's let people know once again how they can get a hold of you and just anything you have coming up. Obviously, you got the new book, any appearances and whatnot. What a pleasure to have you on the show and to speak with you once again. I remembered how much I enjoyed speaking with you, but you really are a very sweet, pleasant, and positive person. It's a joy.
Well, thank you so much for thinking of me and having me back on. So I'm really, really grateful for that. I can be found at KristyRobinett.com. I am like the worst person to PR myself out. I'm going to be in Milwaukee in June. The end of June, I will be doing a paranormal investigation at the Marian Center. It's actually an old Catholic school. I was there last year. We had a lot of stuff that happened. It was a lot of fun. And then that Sunday, I'm doing a gallery reading, and that's in St. Francis, Wisconsin. August 7th and 8th, I will be at the Michigan Paracon, and that is at in Sault Ste. Marie. So if you guys want to go way up into the Yooper part of Michigan, I will be there, and I'll be lecturing with a bunch of other fun paranormal people. And I always have a lot of Michigan events around me, a lot of library lectures and book signings.
Well, let me know when you come to Minnesota, and we'll have a beer.
Yeah, no, we're actually trying to get that all situated, and I'll probably be in New Orleans in November as well. That just hasn't been solidified.
Well, everybody, I want everyone to go to www.KristyRobinett.com. Check out her YouTube videos, her Twitter feed, and yes, you can even be friends with her on Facebook. Check it all out. Get her books. Each and every one of them are available on her website, as well as at Amazon.com. And you'll also be able to learn much, much more about all of her talents that she has, because it's just a small snippet of what we could bring you tonight. So definitely, everybody go to KristyRobinett.com.
Thank you so much. Really, thank you for having me.
No,
yes, I'm sorry we were such a delay from when the book was out, but we had a various things going on, and then we had a gap with the America's Most Haunted show due to the fact that we had our book out. We were running around like idiots doing all these interviews ourselves. That's in fact how I met Joel, and so then we got this thing going, and immediately you came to mind. We must get Kristy on.
I
so
appreciate
yeah,
it.
never a disappointment. Really, really fascinating stuff, and very much admire how much of this that you do, or how important it is to you to help people. That seems to be your the core, the essence of what you do, and what you get out of it is the fact that you are able to help people.
Yep, help those here and help those on the other side. And if I ever stop doing that, then I'm in the wrong job. So absolutely.
Very true. Well, thank you again, Kristy, for coming on the show. It has been an absolute pleasure, like Eric had said. And Edgar Allan Poe seems to be a pretty cool dude. Just saying.
He's pretty cool.
I
can loan him to you if you want.
That'd be kind of cool. Like to talk.
Okay, good.
Talk with him a little bit. Quote him a few times. Well,
Yeah, he might not like that.
Well, anyhow, guys, we're out of here. See you guys next time. Remember, love each other, take care of each other. Make sure you connect your spirit guide, and make sure you're true to yourselves as well. Until next time, love you all. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.